As part of our meditation this evening, we'll be hearing words from one of the great mystic poets, Hafiz. Hafiz and Rumi and Ghalib, Kabir, Tagore, they all complain sometimes because of any distance, any separation, any dualism that exists between themselves and their beloved inner guru. And here in this simple verse, Hafiz says to his beloved, I have made the journey into nothing. I have become that flame that needs no fuel. So, beloved, what need is there now to ever call for Hafiz? For if you did, I would just step out of you. It's so deep, I'll read it again. Hafiz, the poet, the devotee, the mystic, the seeker, finally says, I have made the journey into nothing, into no thing. I have become that flame that needs no fuel. Beloved, what need is there now to even call for Hafiz? To ever call for Hafiz? For if you did, I would just step out of you. Hafiz is speaking for all of us. As long as there is I and you in our language, in our thinking, we cannot ever be that flame that needs no fuel. The beloved, the inner guru, the Sadguru, is drawing us nearer and nearer and nearer to the origin of our being. Through meditation, we meet that which we are. And I and you disappear into oneness. In these moments of meditation, of witnessing, of silence, feel the world of language, the world of time and space, I and thou, yours and mine, dissolve into an ocean of nothing. And we don't have much time, so I'll have to just continue, no matter what. I was thinking, what brings so many people here to the ashram? Even though it's not warm, it's not sunny, it's not conducive to spending a holiday weekend, as we do in the spring for Easter and Passover, 4th of July. But you're here, nice-sized group. And I was thinking that what brings us here, myself included, is that things are so bad in the world. Things are so tense. Things are, yes, they're so brutally difficult these days. Katie, right? I know. Everybody agrees, so you don't stand alone. Just talking to someone tonight, saying that he just had to get away from business in the city, and that's why he came here. When you come here, when I come here, it's with the hope that we'll have some better understanding as to why the world is in such chaos, why it's so painful these days. But we have an answer right away here. Sometimes things have to get that way to bring us back to where we really belong. If things are going very well, if we're having a lovely dream, we just don't want to wake up. But if things are the way they are now in the world, something stirs in ancient yogis, which we are, that says there's some meaning in this. I should go where at least I'm a little apart from all that's confusing me. So with this in mind, I found myself selecting, even though it's a holiday weekend, selecting rather serious readings tonight. Because I think deep down that's what we want. That's what we're craving. Sometimes the programs are a little lighter, and Laraji will certainly later on lighten things up a bit. So we're nice, we're like the sweet and sour sauce together, I and Laraji. Guruji Sri Brahmananda has written many essays, he has written books, and his great classic texts are The Fundamentals of Yoga, and this from which I'll be reading, the textbook of yoga psychology. I've been, as some of you know, focusing on only a few paragraphs of Guruji's great message and his commentary, because, as you will hear, they apply so directly to the life of each one of us. There wasn't a coincidence that Guruji would so often remind us, don't think that any reading you hear in the ashram or any teaching you hear from any of the teachers are meant for somebody else. He said, no, they're not only meant for you, he said they're meant for himself also. Because we all need to be reminded of a knowledge, of a truth that will ultimately free us from all fear and all suffering. We need it the way we need air. So when I came across this paragraph from the section called Self-Analysis and Enlightenment, for those who have the book, it's on page 309. It doesn't matter what it's related to, which of Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. The textbook of yoga psychology is a translation and commentary upon Patanjali's Yoga Sutras. But you will see, just taking these few paragraphs, suddenly you get a jolt. Suddenly a new understanding will dawn on you. He's telling us in these paragraphs something rather astounding, rather astonishing, because we've tended to feel that everything that's going on in our life is already predestined. That if I'm working for a corporation, that's predestined. If I'm married to someone who reminds me of my 3 other wives, that's also predestined. You can laugh once in a while. Once in a while, Gurji was introduced to a wife, a new wife, and the person introducing would wait for Gurji's compliment, and Gurji would say, "But she's just like your 2 other wives." Shock would go. That was not, it actually happened, Karuna knows. It actually happened, and it took a long time for that new wife to forgive Gurji, to forgive any of us for that matter. But we do wonder when we seem to be thrown about by nature, going from one situation to the next without getting any relief from the pressure on our heart. And this is what Gurji says. Man, that means men and women, man in ignorance is moved like a marionette, like a puppet, pulled by the strings of his past karmas. But a man with the help of self-analysis takes those strings into his own hands. For man is born not only to move in the hands of karma, he is born to realize that he is the maker of karmas. He is born to realize that he or she can direct his karmas. An individual is responsible for his actions. The creative forces are only the assisting medium, conserving the fruits of his deeds. I'm not stopping there, but I think we have to look into that. An individual is responsible for his actions. The creative forces are only the assisting medium, conserving the fruits of his deeds. Creative forces cannot compel anyone to do this or that, or to suffer in this way or that. Man suffers due to his own action. The results are deposited with the individual by the creative forces. Now, you've all been very still listening to this, so I know that somewhere in you there's a voice saying, that's true. What is he saying that is surprising? What is surprising about what Gurji is saying? He says, we're not being driven by these forces, by these creative forces. We are responsible for our own actions. One more sneeze and I'll know that's absolutely true. My grandmother said 3 sneezes makes it a fact. I need one more. Try. But an individual is responsible for his actions. The creative forces are only the medium that assists in this, conserving the fruits of his deeds, meaning the rewards of good actions. There are actions, but the creative forces conserve, preserve the fruits, the rewards of our actions for future rewards. Isn't this an odd statement to make, that we are responsible for our actions? When, on some other level, we're told that from the time we're born, Vedantic teachings state from the time we're born, our life is a drama already written. Written. Why is there no contradiction in that statement and this statement? This statement is not referring to past karma. It's referring to present karmas. Karmas that are going on right now. Now, I'll make it a little easier because it took Dharmadev and myself probably 30 years to make sense of this. Some of you just arrived, or you're here less than a year. So, yes, every statement we make, and this is Ramana Maharshi, one of the great sages who stated this, every statement we make, every action we take is already predetermined, preconditioned. But we are responsible for these actions. And actions also include our thinking processes. And that's why a guru can say, yes, from the time we're born, everything's laid out, but we always have the possibility of redirecting or transcending karma. So today, for example, I'll take an example that came in through the emails. Somebody writes, it came in this morning from someone out of town. Somebody writes, I'm suffering in my present relationship. I thought it was going to work out, but I just can't take it anymore, and I've lost my peace of mind, and I need to get that back. And if remaining in this relationship is going to rob me of my peace of mind, I don't care, I'm going to end it. What's wrong with that statement? What's wrong with it? He's supposed to be a yogi. What's wrong with it? Don't worry, it wasn't his statement. But what's wrong with it, Michael?
The way I heard it, the way he's phrasing it, even if it robs me of my peace, he sort of, to me, I almost heard that he was setting out that he's sort of putting a negative thought into
No, he wasn't saying even if it robs me. He's saying even if it's the wrong thing to do, I have to have my peace of mind. He was going to take an action that he thought would bring him peace of mind. The problem with that is that if we don't do something like that with good motivation, with motivation not to hurt anyone, that's part of yoga. If you're doing it only to have your own peace of mind, that peace of mind is going to be harder and harder to attain. Because the peace of mind comes in when you have compassion not only for your own needs, but for the needs of the other people. Gurdjieff used to say, you don't want your happiness to be on the heels of pain for the other individual. There has to be a kind of what we call a neutralizing so that the separation can occur. We don't know why these relationships are in our life. But we do know if we don't neutralize a relationship that's troublesome. And that can happen in a few days, in a few hours, or it may take a little longer. But the relationship isn't as important as the peace of mind that comes from knowing that you have neutralized some old desire that came to fruition this lifetime and will never have to cause suffering in your life again. If you leave it unnaturally, without caring about what's going to happen to the other person, that peace of mind will be even further away. It may seem for a day or two, but then you'll find, no, I'm depressed again. Not for any particular reason, other than we are, according to Gurdjieff, walking with the dark forces rather than the light forces. We're taking a journey of unrighteousness rather than a journey of righteousness. What I'm saying doesn't apply to ordinary people. They will have to go their way and learn from their mistakes. But I'm talking according to what Gurdjieff taught us. I'm talking to yogis, people who are here, you who are here, because you're tired of having to repeat the same relationships, the same heartache, the same frustration, the same abandonment, betrayals. Aren't you tired? Just nod your head. I won't tell who's nodding head. Everybody's nodding head. I'm tired. I don't want another incarnation where I have to go through this. And the gurus say most important is to have that quality that Karuna has, compassion, in everything we do and everything we say. Not possible all the time, but we should strive for it. We should open up, open our hearts. So how are we responsible for our current actions? Our past actions are like the arrow that's been shot, prarabdha karma, shot into the air. We can't take it back. We don't have to suffer when it brings its result. That's up to us if we understand where suffering, how suffering comes about. But Gurdjieff is saying in his commentary, the actions that we take now and coming, we do have some control over. Not to control by force, but to control by what?
By how we behave.
But how is that controlled? Yes, we'll control.
By that intent you just talked about, for caring about what you're doing.
Well, if we have an intent, because you're close, I always tell you that, Harini Devi, you're close. You're always close. So you're on the right track. If we have an intent, there's a little English on it, because we have an intent because we want some result from it. But what will allow us to perform pure action, natural action from a good heart, good soul, is awareness, alertness, being aware of the other person's reaction, or even seeing very clearly that I'm not ready to do this yet because there's so much anger and hatred in my heart. Cannot do it that way. That will only come back to me, because yogis know on some level that there is a law of cause and effect. Whatever we do with good motivation, that brings the fruit. And the creative forces allows that fruit to manifest. Whatever we do with selfish, uncaring motivation, that too comes back. So we have to be careful not to plan, not to have as our intention. There are schools who do that. They get up in the morning and they set their intentions. That would make me very, very nervous. Very nervous. Baba knows why. Because my mind is so like a monkey. I tell my mind, it's like telling a baby, don't touch that candy. I tell my mind, you've got to act today with the best of intentions, because you'll get a great reward for that. You'll end your suffering for that. You won't have to see her again if you're nice to her. That is such a trap for the ego. All you have to do, according to all these great gurus, is be very aware of not only your own reactions to the moment, but to the reactions of other people. If we see them, if we see the hurt, that we are inflicting on them, instantly we stop it. Not because of determination, but because we are naturally compassionate. We are naturally kind and loving. Where we are, where our understanding is. It's our nature. We're very close to that. But we need to see. We need to see. Great gurus don't discipline us. They just awaken us so we can see what we need to see. Guruji goes on and says this: even those tendencies and karmas with which men are bound can be overcome by the strength of inner will. One can break the chain of karma that holds one in bondage. Untrained human consciousness has an impulsive and compulsive nature. It has its likes and dislikes. According to its merits and demerits, untrained consciousness passes through ups and downs of life. Untrained man who is guided by instinctual and driving forces is completely at the mercy of natural impulses. As long as his activities are determined by these natural impulses, instincts, and Guruji refers to natural as animalistic. Those are our natural. When we're born, the babies, they just know about their own hunger, about their own comfort or discomfort. They don't care about the mother, do they? They're not concerned that they're tiring you by getting up every 10 minutes at night. They're totally self-involved, sensual involvement. We have to learn compassion. We have to learn that our actions can impact other people. And the only way that happens is through the awareness of what's going on with you at the time you're inflicting some pain upon somebody. You have to just see it. You're in a mean mood, you're tired, and you're totally uncaring about the way he feels or she feels. We can't live like that because we're just repeating that cycle. Can you all see that? It's a question of awareness, a question of being aware every moment about the urgency of the moment. Every moment in your life is an urgent moment. Every moment in my life is an urgent moment for me, because I have a feeling, and my teacher hinted at it, that I've been repeating and repeating this same lifetime over and over again. And he told me why. Does anybody remember here, my friends, what he told me? It's very interesting. He said, because every lifetime you come, you learn, I invest in you, as I do all my students, and then at the very end, you run away. You go back to something you enjoyed. And then he said some scary words, because it was only my first conversation with him alone. He said, but not this lifetime. This lifetime you will be with me till the end. Even after the end you will be with me. And I had a career then, I had a family then. Sounded dangerous. But later on, it came true. For all of us old-timers who've been here 20, 30, 40 years, it came true. He told us all that we were going to stay when we were going to stay because he saw the future. But since coming into contact with these teachings, even you're coming into contact with the textbook of yoga psychology, Patanjali's Yoga Sutras, even just this one reading will make you more alert. Because there's kind of a threat in here. He began by saying what that sounded kind of threatening? What did he begin with? What did he say about man? You don't remember? That we were like puppets, right? Huh? He says, other page. Man in ignorance is moved like a puppet, like a marionette, pulled by the strings of his past karmas. But a man with the help of self-analysis, which leads us to self-awareness, takes those strings into his own hands. We take our own strings that are pulling our body this way and that. So we're the puppet and we're the puppeteer at the same time. And we can do that. We can watch our performance in life, but we can restrain our performance too, depending on how aware we are, how alert we are. One, to not harming anybody else, not having happiness at the expense of someone else's pain, because that will set us back. But also we have the word of the gurus, the word of the Buddha, the word of Confucius, the word of Mohammed, the word of Shankaracharya, the word of Guruji, all the enlightened teachers, that we can shape not only the next family we're born into. We can choose, but we can also choose the incarnation we'll have. We can do it by where we are, what dimension we live on at the time of the falling away of this body. Just don't look at me as though I'm strange. I am strange, but you're looking at me strangely. It's your own life. How you are when you go to sleep tonight will vastly affect how you are when you wake up tomorrow morning. No? Of course. You give yourself freedom from thinking and memories, you'll have a good night's sleep, and you'll wake up refreshed, feeling that you choose to be happy. Sunday morning. Might snow. You can be happy with the snow. But if you choose to go over and over all the things that are bothering you, what he said, what you should have said, what he didn't say, what you shouldn't have said, goes on and on. If we don't take control of that, that's the control we have. We can stop thinking, and we can move instead to witnessing. Because as I always like to repeat for myself and you, we cannot be totally involved in witnessing and thinking at the very same time. We're either a witness or we're a judge. Judging is what's killing us. Judging is what's causing our suffering. Don't judge. Just let the dream, let the life unfold. You do what's necessary. You'll always do what's necessary, unless you're disturbed, and I'm not saying anybody disturbed here. But what's necessary, we do. But what's not necessary, we also do. More of that, I'm afraid. And I include myself too. Unnecessary thinking, unnecessary relationships, unnecessary work, we do. So I'm just finishing here. And then you can ask questions if you want. Even in the Gita, although it says everything's ordained, it says we are born with senses that we have to restrain. Not get rid of, but restrain. So that we're not out of control. We're Krishna, we're the ones with the reins in our hands. The horses, according to the Gita, are our senses. And the horses are great. They're taking us to wonderful things, wonderful battles, but they need you to have control. Even the senses want you to have control. We don't want to lose control over the senses, and the senses don't want to be out of control. They like that order. Untrained man who is guided by instinctual, animalistic, and driving forces is completely at the mercy of natural impulses. As long as his activities are determined by these natural impulses, by these instincts and drives, man is not free. But an individual is not merely the totality of his impulses. Infinity is his fundamental foundation. That's why we love gurus. Who else but a guru can write a sentence like that? Untrained man who is guided by instinctual and driving forces is completely at the mercy of natural impulses. As long as the activities of man and woman are determined by these natural impulses, instincts, and drives, man is not free. But an individual is not merely the totality of these impulses. What is our fundamental foundation? You heard it, what was it? Infinity is our foundation. Isn't that lovely? It never jumped out at me as it did tonight. I've read this, that sentence. I could go home and just embroider it on a pillow and never come back here, and I'd be so happy. Infinity is my foundation, my fundamental foundation. Final sentence: the immanent and transcendent, the immanent and transcendent self can be realized by self-discipline, which comes from awareness, and the vicious circle of karmas can be overcome. What I put on the blackboard was, for the topic tonight, was conquering our destiny. Conquering what that arrow that has been shot forth. It will land, it will cause us to move here and there and relate to this one and be hurt by that one. But knowing what we heard tonight, we just have to keep a rein on these natural instincts and impulses, because our real nature is purity, compassion, love. Love unconditionally for everyone who is suffering. When we reach a point where our witnessing ability, we're so established in it, and we're all working on it. It's even more important as you get older. I'm working harder at that, trying to step back and see the totality of what's going on in any given moment. But once we realize that the witnessing allows us to step outside of that first impulse, our conditioned response, to restrain a little bit, and by so doing, you change the next circle of karma. It's in our hands. We can do it. Not by discipline, not by controlling, but by awareness. The awareness allows a natural control, a natural control. It's like, all of you know, how many of you love dogs? How many of you have ever had gentle dogs? Very gentle. But do you know, you must have heard, that if the most gentle of dogs is having a dream that he's under attack by another animal, and they're thrashing about, and you go too close to that dog, and you wake the dog from his dream, that dog, your dog, will attack you viciously for a second. bite you. It's happened. Very serious wounds have come from startling a dog who's having a dream that he's fighting with another animal. If he were aware and awake, would never happen. Never happen. I stepped on the tail of my cat all the time when I had a cat. And I was shocked that he never turned on me. He'd make a noise at me and stay away from me for a day and a half. Always in when it came to me and Marv. I love that even an animal, if he has a second of awareness, will not give way to his natural impulses. But if a cat were dreaming also, I'm not discriminating against dogs. If a cat were dreaming also, the cat would go after you too. If he were dreaming. Can you all understand that? So awareness is the key that we need. Awareness. Any questions? You don't know how I'm praying that there aren't any, but any questions? Because I don't know if I could add anything. I'll find out. Any questions about this? That word restrain is important. Not control, but restrain by being aware. Aware, awake, alert. That automatically restrains your actions. Yes, yes.
I just wanted to ask if you would read the last sentence or two once more.
That's the kind of question I like. Yes. I'll read the last part of it. As long as man's activities are determined by natural impulses, our sensual impulses, animalistic impulses, instincts and drives, as long as our activities are determined by these, man is not free. But an individual is not merely the totality of his impulses. Infinity is his fundamental foundation. Meaning we're not locked into the storehouse of our memories and our old karmas. Infinity is our foundation. That's where we have to go. And we go into that through witnessing, through meditation, because the one thing that happens in witnessing and meditation both is that past and future disappear, and there's only now. Remember that. As long as we are witnessing, in the state of witnessing, you cannot be thinking or judging at that very same moment. And it's our judging, our likes, our dislikes, the world of dualism, the world of opposites, that's creating all our problems. Once we go into that foundation of infinity, we're not burdened by that load of the past. And that, it's so simple. Once you get it, once you get the knack of witnessing, you'll never find yourself, as Harini was saying today, she gets mad, she gets out of control, has a temper tantrum, but the difference is, since she's come into these teachings, that doesn't last too long. Because when you practice witnessing every day, it becomes a knack. You find yourself doing that more and more naturally, rather than responding with the old tendencies that got us into trouble before. And we have to keep at it while we have the energy, while we have the power, and not wait till we're old without energy and say, we tend to say, it sounds wonderful, I'll do that later. First I'm going to study cooking. More and more people are telling me they're interested in cooking. They don't want to work for corporations anymore, they want to learn to cook. How many, Marv? 3, 4 now? 3, 4 people. Perfectly sound people. They're ready to spend $25,000 to learn cooking. I think we should send them all to Harvey. He'll charge them only $10,000. But it's expensive. So did you hear what you needed to hear? For those who want more of Guruji's wisdom, textbook of yoga psychology. It's in the gift shop. Is it? I don't know. Is it back? Bharati, do you know if it's back? Okay. Because when we looked for it, temporary, okay. But it's there, and if you want to see what I was reading from, it's the section on self-analysis and enlightenment, page 309. So take a deep breath. And now as you breathe out, release all the language, all the words. This will only be 60 seconds. So feel yourself letting go and opening up to this now. Feeling it, perceiving it, imbibing it. Sometimes it only takes 1 minute to reconnect with your real life, your real home. I am that I am. That is our home. Krishna Devi, would you lead us in our traditional prayer? Thank you, Krishna Devi. And if some of you are feeling very high, that you may need a designated driver, take 2 cookies. Chocolate chip is a great way to come back to earth.